Y'all, it is part of the base set, of course, home of the Taramps wall over here. And of course, I have multiple others as well. Now, of course, nothing is perfect, but y'all know I love Taramps when it comes to some awesome, affordable power. And they really have stepped up their game a lot in the last couple of years. And now they make some awesome, awesome amps. So today we have a brand new amp from them, one of their big boys. Let's see what it is. Man, this is a cool little speaker. I can't wait to test this thing out. Oh, man. Guys, if you want to actually get loud, have some great quality bass, you need to check out Alfred Audio. They have a ton of awesome, awesome subs. They've got some great beginner, more budget-friendly options like this Machete Fight S. Or if you want a big boy, we got the big old Apocalypse. Big fella over here. They also make tons of amps. Tons of incredible, high-quality speakers. Everything I've tested out so far has been some of my favorite stuff and has just blown me away with how good it sounds and how well it performs. So much so, in my last really big build that I did, I ran all their equipment. I ran their batteries, I ran their subs, I ran one of their massive 20K amps, and I was so pleased with it, and everybody that heard it was so pleased with it too. It literally just blew people away. Okay, a blue hair, not quite people. But hey, I was just going for blowing around some hair, so that works out. If you want to check out some awesome gear from them, alfredaudio.us. Link will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much. Let's get back to the video. That's right, guys. Huge shout out to Taramps for sending me one of their new lines that they have. Let's check this thing out. You, of course, get one of their massive decals. And here is the amp. Let's get this thing open. Real quick, just one of my complaints with Taramps just in general. The little bolts they give you are really short. And if they wiggle around, if there's no wire in here to put pressure on them and they're just sitting there wiggling around, they will just fall out. As you can see, this one did. Now, I've had these sitting in my car before where I had nothing, hooked up, but they were just mounted in my car. And just from driving around, these guys fell out and I lost some. Fortunately, once I ripped out my system, I was able to find them, but that is just a slight pain that would be easily fixed by making these screws a little bit longer. For example, on this Def Monts, you can see you can screw them all the way down so there's pressure on them and they won't just fall out. Now, guys, I'll put the specs for this up on the screen here, but here is the amp. This is the T12,000, I think it's CHIPEO. So, of course, we have just a little bit different exterior design than we've had on the MD and bass lineup. This is, of course, a 12-volt amp, not one of their high-voltage amps. I believe some of the CHIPEO amps are high voltage, though. Over here, we have dual inputs. I do like these. We'll go over these here in a second. We have our two smart coolers. Basically, what the smart cooler means is that these fans will only kick on when the amp starts to get hot. So when you're just sitting there idling and there's not much going through, you don't have to sit there and listen to that annoying fan noise. Over here, we've got our outputs. Looks like they would fit 4-gauge. Our monitor level, and of course, remote wire would go there. We have a gain adjustment, and then we have our RCA inputs. And like always, they are not Tiffany-style connectors, so just not as solid as a nice Tiffany style, but is what it is. We also have fans on this side. And then up here on top, of course, we have our protect, clip, and power lights right here. Quick comparison here, of course, is the MD12K. They're about the same size, but this has got the older style of inputs, which I don't really like these as much. I've gone over why in some other videos. Maybe I'll show it here. And, of course, the MD has more controls on it, but overall, though, these amps are pretty much the same size. Now, I have this Apocalypse amp here just because I wanted to show you this. Now, of course, this is a 20K amp, but it only does 20K at 18 volts. At 14.4 volts, this guy only does 12,000 watts. And the 12 volts, this fella does 10,000 watts. Whereas I believe that the CHIPEO over here, I know it definitely does 12,000 watts at the 14 volts, I'm pretty sure it does it at 12 volts as well. Of course, we'll hook this up to my meter. We'll see in the real life what we're really getting from this thing, but I just find that super interesting. Now, you all know I love my oversized 0-gauge wire. Of course, we have the sky-high wire here, so this is like a 2-aught gauge and welding cable. Let's make sure that these things fit. Y'all, it fits in there, no problem. And I like that these have a little plastic lip, so you really can get it down in there, and you don't have to worry about little strands of wire sticking out. That is just perfect. And then we also have these sky-high dual inputs here. Let's make sure that they work. Oh yeah, that fits in there beautifully, just perfect. Now, what makes this line of amp different from the other lines of amps? Now, for what Taramps told me, the main thing about this, guys, is this thing is simple. All this is a true amplifier. There's no bells and whistles, no crossovers, no bass boost, none of that stuff. All there is a gain setting on it, which in today's day and age, generally speaking, is normally all that you need. Either your head unit is going to have those crossovers on it, or if you have some sort of DSP, that's going to have crossover settings on it. So if you want something that is super simple, that is affordable, and that should absolutely push out the power, I think this guy is going to get the job done. Now, real quick, this would not be a part of the base head video if I didn't instantly void my warranty on this thing by pulling the back off. So let's do that so y'all can see what we're working with. Look at that, it says void under it once you've pulled that off. That is interesting, but anyway, guys, here it is. Now, as I said before, I am not an amp expert, but I know some of y'all really enjoy seeing this stuff, and y'all probably know more than me, so let me know what you think of these internals. Alright, unfortunately, I had to mount this thing upside down because all my power wires go over here. Then I mount my SMD meter right over there, but hey, doesn't matter. It'll still get the job done, but I would rather it be right side up. Anyway, mounted up good, so next up, gotta run some wire. Y'all, amp all hooked up, ready to go. Now, it only called for like 600 amps of fusing. We have two 350s in there, so 700. So that should be plenty. Normally, I'd run dual inputs on this, but we're not going to be demoing with it for super long periods of time, so we'll try it like this. Let's see what this thing can do. Now, for testing, we have the absolutely insane DefBond 4512R. Wired down to 1 ohm. Y'all, this thing is insane. guys, we want to see how much power this amp can put out, at least see best we can do. Now, with such a big amp, this would be a lot easier with a really big system. Of course, we don't have a really big system in here, but we do have a couple subs. So what we've got, guys, we've got two dual 2-ohm subs hooked up. One, that'll take the stress off of just, putting this test through one sub. Two, it'll drop us down to half an ohm, which, of course, after impedance rise, it'll be a lot closer to that 1 ohm. Yeah, we've got my meter right here. That'll test the power. We'll do it on dyno mode. So, of course, it'll stop once it gets up to the clipping point. Let's see what this guy does. You can see 11,664 watts, and we're sitting at 13.3 volts, so it probably dips down a little bit below 13. Let's give it another shot. Fan in here really kicking on, but as you can see there, guys, at 1.1 ohms, we got 13,537 watts. And again, we're sitting about 13.4 volts. All right, we have this guy set to real-time power, which means it won't stop at the peak. Since we got these hooked up, let's play a song through it, see what it gets up to. Y'all, as you can see there, on the SMD meter and on the amp, we were not clipping there. Around that 1 ohm point, of course, peaking up to about 13,000 watts, staying 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, no problem. Beefy amp for sure. Another thing I like about these amps is they have these little monitors you can plug into them. Guys, super handy if you just want to monitor, to see what your amp is doing, make sure everything is all good. That yellow light meaning it was starting to clip a little bit, and then if the red light comes on, that means you're really clipping bad. Again, just super handy, guys. Well, guys, the amp has done great so far. Acts pretty much like any other Taramps that I've had. Starts up decently quick. I can't think of anything that I don't like about it. Again, the point of the amp is to be simple. Some people might not like that it does not have the crossovers on it. It's not something I use, and really not something most people are going to need, so it doesn't bother me that it doesn't have it. The things I like about the amp, of course, super compact for a 12K amp. Looks pretty much like the other Taramps. Nothing majorly different. Price, I believe it's around 750 bucks, which for a 12,000 watt amp, not bad at all. Now, of course, this is a 1 ohm amp, but I had it wired down to 1 ohm, and it played just fine. Now, of course, when your subs start playing, even if they're wired to half an ohm, they normally rise up to an ohm or above. So this amp really didn't see much below 0.8, 0.9 from what I saw on the meter, but pretty much stayed at 1 ohm or a little bit higher the entire time. That being said, guys, I would feel totally safe wiring any sub down to half an ohm on this guy. I love the inputs on it, really love them over what was on the old MD Taramps. And third thing that I really love, again, as opposed to the older MD amps and the older bass amps, is that the fan does not stay on the entire time. Overall, guys, super stoked on this guy. Let me know what y'all think. Would you grab this guy, or would you stick to one of the base series or MD series amps? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Really appreciate you guys. Y'all, if you could please subscribe to the channel, that just really helps, more than y'all know. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, y'all. Once again, thank you, and remember, as always, keep basing on.